Yo, 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 what it is, what it was, what's it gonna be?
Welcome.
Welcome to the latest episode of the Gen Expertise Podcast, episode 33. We hitting y'all with that Patrick Ewing today. Entitled The Makings of You, Exploring Your Personal Ecosystem. We are your hosts, Main and Rants, aka
Welcome.
PWA. Podcasters with Attitude, yo. What's up, good brother? What's up?
Everything's good, man. What's up with you?
Before we start, son, before we start, you got the horn ready?
Yeah. Let's do it.
Let's give it a test. First. Yo, we want to announce 1,000 downloads. Hit the bullhorn! To celebrate like Kunta was born. We elbowed our way inside the room and got on, son. Shout out to Ghostface. As you can tell, he's probably one of our favorite artists, yo. We did 1,000 downloads.
In a 30-day period. Yeah, 1,000 in a month.
Yeah, your favorite podcasters, they just don't know it yet. You know what I'm saying? We averaged 1,000 downloads for the month. All thanks to you guys. So salute to you guys.
Yeah, appreciate you.
You know, we appreciate y'all.
Cheers.
We definitely couldn't have done it without you. 1,000 downloads, that's a big step. You know, milestones. We're big on milestones. There's no such thing as a small milestone to us here, especially when we're building something from nothing.
Yeah, everything's significant to us. And I definitely want to echo that, man. Like, I definitely appreciate it. All the friends and family, all the strangers, whoever just happened to randomly discover the podcast.
Yes.
Start listening and downloading. We appreciate all of it, man. All the good energy is needed. So yeah, it's incredible. That's awesome.
Yeah, we're super excited about it. Tiny steps, great distances, as I once heard someone say. You know, we have a long way to go, but we've already made huge accomplishments in our goals. So it's all thanks to you. Thanks again. We can't thank you enough. We always say we're never going to stop thanking you guys. We can't thank you enough for your support.
Absolutely.
Now that we're on YouTube, we're getting people watching our YouTube, listening to us on all the streaming podcasting devices. And we're ecstatic about this. So we celebrate. And y'all know it's by now. Bang. There you go, man. That's what. And one more thing. A lot of people since our last episode have been asking me about sprouting. And Maine, my man Marmello, just made his first sprout jar over the week. So and also we have a book here. So I have a book for you guys. It's called The Sprouting Book by Doug Evans. So this is everything that you need to know about sprouting.
Did you tell me about this book when we're talking about sprouting?
I think I might have mentioned his name. I
don't know, man. I feel cheated. I feel like you're cheating the audience better than me. We were talking about sprouting for like at least a couple of weeks. And now you bring out the book? All right.
Yeah, man. We had the sprout. I found it. My wifey was cleaning out the house and she was cleaning up the book corner. And there it was lying right there, the sprouted book.
Nice.
So Doug Evans is an author. It's everything. Tap into the power of the planet's most nutritious food.
Right.
You know?
And for those of you that follow us on Instagram, I did put a little reel up showing like the progress to actually sprout seeds. All you really need is a jar. Probably want to get a jar with a lid that can strain out water, because you have to first soak the seeds on the first day. Like, you kind of just leave them soaking. And then over the next like 3 to 5 days, you need to just rinse them twice a day and just leave them out. They don't need soil. They don't need sunlight. And you'll find that the seeds start to sprout like within that amount of time. Like, it just takes maybe 3 to 5 days. So a little bit of patience and some water, a jar. And
whatever beans and lentils you have in your house, basically.
Yeah, and you can sprout beans and lentils, not just the seeds. Or you can order seeds. You can order seeds online for sure. There's all sorts of companies that will give you seeds. You could even order them on the company that we need to stop mentioning
Rainforest.
so we get some affiliate links going or something, man.
Uh-huh.
Like, but anyway, I'll just say Amazon. So,
Yeah.
so you could go to Amazon if you want to do it really quick and get started. You can order the jars, and you can also order some seeds from Amazon. And like I said, all you need to do, throw the seeds in a jar, soak them in some water overnight, and then in the next 3 to 5 days, rinse them twice a day, and you'll find that you go from seed to sprouts within that amount of time, and you have, like Rand said, one of the most nutritious foods on the planet.
An endless supply, yo.
Yeah, and an endless supply pretty much. And it would take you to eat bowls and bowls of vegetables to get the same amount of nutrients you'll get from like a handful of sprouts or like a half a cup of sprouts, right? So it's definitely interesting. I ate them for the first time today, or at least I've had sprouts before, but the ones that I actually grew, I ate them today. They're kind of an acquired taste, right? And I realized that maybe I shouldn't just grab a handful and eat them, but to be honest with you, but I think I'm gonna throw them in other foods and like put them on salads and stuff like that. Throw them in my meals,
You can
and
throw them
that
in
seems to be the way to
smoothies.
go. That seems to be the way to go. Like to mix them with other stuff, that seems to be the way that I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
Because I think it's gonna take me some getting used to just grab a handful and throw them down, right? So
Yeah,
yeah,
pause.
I mean, look into that. Yeah, pause. But but definitely, everybody out there, if you're interested in like the most nutritious food probably known to man, or one of them,
Yes.
definitely look into sprouting your own seeds because it's a very easy way to get a lot of nutrition. So yeah,
And it's cheap.
and it's super cheap.
Super
So
cheap. Like a bag of beans. You can literally go into
yeah,
your grocery store, grab those $2, $1.99, $1.79 bag of beans and sprout them, and you can have jars and jars of endless nutrition. Do you know what I'm saying? So there you go.
yeah,
Do you know what I mean? We're all about health,
yeah.
knowledge.
And I also put some information on the Instagram. Like I put some of the health benefits behind it too. So there's some information there. If you follow us on Instagram, follow my reel on my little sprout experiment, and you'll see that I put some information in the comments about basically the highlights in terms of what nutritional benefits you get from that. So yeah, check that out.
There you go. So, the makings of you, exploring your personal ecosystem. I like to give a lot of references on inspiration to some of these episodes. And before we even started, Maine and I were talking about this episode. I was inspired. I was watching the movie Claudine.
Classic. Yeah, classic.
Classic Claudine, starring that fine Diane Carroll, yeah, and James Earl Jones.
Yeah, we were just talking about how they don't really make love stories
Yeah.
in that way anymore. Like I don't really see, especially to be honest, I don't really see black love stories that much. At least that type, right? Like where it's just two regular people, and they're kind of living in the struggle in the movie too. But that movie is definitely a really really good classic love story. I forget what year that is. It's sometime
74. 74.
1974. Okay.
Yeah, 74 it came out.
And the soundtrack is Curtis Mayfield, right? Curtis Mayfield.
Actually, the soundtrack is Gladys Knight and the Pips did the
But is it?
soundtrack.
But isn't that aren't
they
all those
sang
songs written by Curtis Mayfield?
because
Okay,
they sang The Makings of You, which is from one of my favorite artists and one of my favorite songs. That's the title for today's podcast.
right, exactly.
The
That's what
Makings of
ties
You.
it all
If you
together.
haven't heard The Makings of You by Curtis Mayfield, as soon as this podcast is over, you need to listen to it. You know what I'm saying? That's
Yeah,
one of my favorite.
that's a classic. Yeah, that's a classic song from the
Add a
movie.
little sugar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, that whole soundtrack, like The Makers of You, is obviously a classic, but that whole soundtrack for Claudine, is awesome. But yeah, The Makings of You, Rams was inspired by the movie and by that song for the title for this particular episode. So yeah.
So if for those of you who do not know about the movie is about Diane Carroll, who plays Claudine, of course, and she's a maid. And she's a maid on welfare, and she has 6 children, and she lives in Harlem. And she meets James Earl Jones, who's a garbage man.
Yeah.
Who pursues her, this woman with these 6 kids. And it's basically like a really good, a love story, like Maine said, of the struggle and how life is what you make of it, basically. If you want to be happy, if you want to find happiness, you got to work hard to get it. So that's, that's like the main thing of the movie. Like, and they created their own kind of little personal ecosystem with them and the children, and they made it work. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Another fantastic movie. If you haven't seen that movie or heard of that movie, when this episode is over, play that Curtis Mayfield and watch that Claudine.
Yeah, absolutely. Highly recommend.
So, the beauty of the personal ecosystem is it's just that. It's your personal ecosystem, because so it changes from person to person. Maine's personal ecosystem and my personal ecosystem is probably totally different when it comes to certain things, but because we've been friends for so long and we run in some of the same circles, there's a lot of similarities in our personal ecosystems as
Yeah.
well. So that's the beauty of it. It's basically what you make of it. And you're really dealing with like an internal and an external. Internal, where it's like your mindset, your beliefs, your health, the people you surround yourself with to a certain extent, because it's like choice. I interpret it as like personal choice.
Mm,
Um, Controlling the controllable, things that are basically in your hand.
right.
Health isn't always in your hand, but knowing how healthy you are is totally in your hands, you know, with
Right.
regular doctor visits and things of that nature. And then you have like the external part, which is like your home, your workplace, and also the people around you and the information that you surround yourself with, social media, what you read, what you watch, what you listen to.
Right.
Um, so that's what my interpretation of your personal my personal ecosystem is. And through this episode, you'll hear both of us talk about certain aspects of both of our ecosystems, which are similar and different all at the same time.
Right.
Mm.
Right. And it's just to echo what you're saying, right? Like each person is gonna have, to a certain extent, a unique idea of what their personal ecosystem is. They're gonna have unique components of it, but
Hmm.
some of them are kind of universal, I would think, right?
Yeah.
Or the themes of them are universal, right? Like they're
Yes.
gonna be unique in terms of the specifics. Like when you talk about relationships, right? You talk about relationships with your family and your friends and your community. Those things get into like, granular detail where we're talking about, some people might have 10 friends that they might call their best friends,
Yeah.
whereas another person might have one best friend and that's it, right? Like they don't really consider everybody their best friend, or they might have a community at work that they consider almost like family, right? Where some
Hmm.
other people might say, hey, my work colleagues are my work colleagues, and when I get home, that's my family, and my friends are my friends outside of work. But at work, these are my colleagues, and they kind of limit it to that, right? And I'm just giving that as an example, right? Because
Yeah.
it's really unique in terms of how you kind of get granular with those components. But
Hmm.
in a universal sense, all of us have some sort of community that we might deal with. At least in the ideal situation, whether it's big or small, you have some sort of relationships that are important to you. Some things that are kind of like staple to your happiness. Stuff like, your resources, and whether you're focused on it or not, your wellness, right? um
Hmm.
and whether and the thing is, like, focusing on it or not can mean all the difference. Like you said, like regular doctor visits and just paying attention to what you're putting in your body, paying attention to how much movement you're getting within a given amount of time. So yeah, I just wanted to echo what you're saying, because I feel like in thinking about this, there's unique aspects, but then there's things that I think are universal that people are really going to be able to relate to.
Yeah.
As we talk about this.
So to give a definition of your personal ecosystem is the interconnected network of habits, environments, people, and resources that shape an individual's life and well-being. So that's like the official definition that I looked up of your personal ecosystem. Um, so today we're going to talk about some things that involve your personal ecosystem,
Right.
mind, body, physical environment, your digital life, your social network, things of that nature. But the thing that I find most interesting is that everything is connected. That's what you find out, that every single thing is connected within your personal ecosystem. And that's why it's your personal ecosystem, because it's all happening basically under one umbrella, you
Sure.
know, and things interlock and intercede each other at the same time.
Right.
So, um, one of the things that we both have in common would be our social network,
Right.
you know? So, as you know, Maine and I have known each other for going on 40 years, close to 40 years now. We're almost there.
Yep, God willing, we'll get there.
Yeah. So, if you've been listening to us, you've heard a lot of our stories. Have the other person involved in it. A lot of the people that we know are the same people that we know. We went to the same high school. We knew each other before we went to the same high school from a program that we went to. So there's stories that there was one thing that I was thinking about, and this was a friend of mine. We were talking about like Christmas. Christmas just came up, and I
Mhm.
even remember. I don't know if you remember this, but I remember one year we went down, like we didn't know what to get our mothers, and we went down to Macy's and we both bought our mothers the same watch. We were just like, yo, and we bought them like the same.
Yo, I honestly don't remember that specific story, but
And
that sounds like something I would definitely have
yo,
done.
we was like, yo, said, what we gonna get? And we went into Macy's and the watch was like, yo,
Yeah,
that
that
watch
sounds like
looks
something I
nice.
would
And we was
do.
like, yo, let's get this watch. So we got them like the same watch.
Yeah, it's not like our mothers were gonna hang out or anything. So that
Yeah,
sounds like
man.
something I would have done just out of like, expediency. Like I would just be like, all right, well, this is nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd have
We
been
was
fine with
last
that.
minute shopping, boy. At a young age. We were early. We might have been home from college or something. We was last
Yeah,
minute shopping. But the friends, our relationships, our colleagues, they intersect. So these have been important aspects of our lives. The fact that the two of us, we're doing a podcast because we both wanted to do a podcast, always wanted to do a podcast, and didn't even really know that the other one wanted to always do a podcast. Yeah.
yeah,
You know? And you can't always control everything in your life, but you can control the people that you surround yourself with.
sure.
And who you let into your ecosystem is once again, when I go back to the controllable, is the people that you hang around with. Like they say, show me your friends, I'll show you who you are.
Right.
I feel that we've managed to surround ourselves with a dependable, reliable group of friends that if we're in trouble, whatever we need, we can go. We always have somebody to talk to. We always have somebody that can relate to us in a certain matter, whatever we need. There's no embarrassment. There's no shame. If we're up or we're down, we can always go to somebody that we know in our circle. And that's very important.
Yeah, definitely right. And like when you talk about that, like you and I are part of each other's personal ecosystem, right? And I didn't
Yes.
really think about that when we first started talking about this topic. I didn't think of it quite that way, but the fact is that we are, right? And it has led to this podcast. The fact that we both wanted to do this, we both have a similar interest in something like this, and then we talked about it and we decided that we would be the perfect kind of people to help each other
Mhm.
kind of manifest it and or bring it to fruition, right? Is part of the reason why our personal ecosystem is so important, right? Because
Mhm.
the personal ecosystem involves to a great extent, right? Your relationships. I think one of the most important aspects is probably the relationships, right? And it's gonna sound
Yeah.
funny coming from me as like kind of the introvert,
The introvert of the
like probably the least social
yeah.
of the group of friends that you're even describing, right? Like I don't want to claim that as a title or anything because I'm not proud of that exactly, but
Mhm.
but if we had to if we had to like take a poll, I'm probably the least kind of like social butterfly of that little group of friends that we're talking about, right? But the idea is that we still do have each other and we have that as part of our ecosystem. So I would say that that's still one of the most important aspects, even to a person like me that considers himself an introvert and to have like very few people that I'm really really close with or that I'm in
Mhm.
regular contact with. I still feel like even for a person like me, the relationships are probably the most important part of that ecosystem because those are the things that motivate you and drive you and give you kind of strength at those times where you, like you said, like if you need help or if you're in trouble, there's still people that I rely on. There's still people that I consider like confidants if I need advice, right? There's still people I feel like could relate to me in such a way where there's no shame and there's no need for me to hide stuff. Like I could tell them straight up, hey, here's what's happening. I need your advice, or I need your help, or I need to talk about XYZ, whatever it is. Right? So yeah, I just wanted to say that because I feel like the community aspect of the personal ecosystem is an
Yeah.
extremely important part that we can't take for granted. And
Yeah.
the other aspect of it that I thought about is that you have a responsibility to realize that you're part of someone else's personal ecosystem,
Yeah.
because there's something to be said for kind of optimizing your own system, or
Mhm.
what you consider your own personal ecosystem. But I
Yeah.
feel like it's a big responsibility that we should take seriously, a big piece of accountability that we should take, in knowing that you're also part of somebody else's ecosystem. Like, you're the person that they're relying on, or you're part of that, of what makes their environment work, right?
Mhm.
Or you might be part of what makes their environment difficult. Right? So
Yeah.
so you just got to take
Mhm.
stock of that sometimes too, man. I don't mean to go off on a tangent on that part, but just this whole topic has made me think, like, about my responsibility and how I play into somebody else's environment, right?
Yeah.
What I mean to them, whether it's
But
good or bad.
yeah, but the craziest thing is being the introvert, basically the introvert of the group. Maine is the one that knows where everyone is at all times for the most part.
Because you could count on me to keep it
Because
low.
we know we we don't know always know where each other are. We don't always know what the other person is doing. We may go a year or two without speaking to each other. We may not see each other for longer than that. But the funniest thing is whenever you get in a conversation with May and it's like, yo, did you see such and such? Yeah, yeah, he's doing this, he's doing that, he's doing this. I just spoke to him. I just spoke to
Yeah,
that.
a lot
So
of times.
he's like the hub. He's,
A
he's
lot of
like,
Yeah, not
yeah,
not I mean, not always, but yeah,
yeah,
like a lot of times, yes, because
yeah,
maybe I'm the person that you could rely on, like, not to really, like, if you're trying to be private, or you
yeah,
need some time by yourself, like, you like to talk to me is easy, and
yeah,
then you don't really have to open yourself up to everybody else, and I'm not gonna, like, make sure that everybody else gets in contact with you at a time where you may want to just be
yeah,
quiet, or you got something you're dealing with, or stuff like that. So I guess I've been that to people, right? Like,
yeah,
I'm not the person that, like the vault, like, where you could just talk to me real quick and be like, hey, I don't feel like talking to anybody.
yeah,
And we go, I kind of leave it at that, right? So
yeah.
yeah, that's an interesting point.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man. And
that's
I'm
that's
the guy
interesting.
that drops off the face of the earth from time to time. Like
Yeah, yeah.
I tend to disappear for months at a time. So
Yeah, and I thought of myself as that
uh-huh.
type of person, but I guess not. I guess, yeah, I guess it depends
Yeah.
on, your different things to different people. But that speaks to the point, right? Like, that
Hmm.
you have to kind of take stock of yourself and understand that there is some responsibility to be had and some accountability to take, that you are part of somebody else's ecosystem. Somebody may be dependent on you for their environment to work, right? Like,
Hmm.
we're all in a little fish tank of our own, and we're all trying to make sure that, that fish tank has a optimal environment for ourselves, right?
Yeah.
And you might be part of somebody's environment. So
Hmm.
so it's just something that I had to think about, man. Like, I had to take stock in, like, how I'm impacting other people that I have any sort of relationship with. How am I impacting them? Is it negative? Is it positive? Am I encouraging people? Am I scaring
Hmm.
them? Am I too worried when they give me an idea of the like, it could be a
Yeah.
family member. Somebody comes to you with a new idea, like, what's my first reaction to a new idea? And that's important. Like, people come to you and they say, in a vulnerable way, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. What is my reaction? Like, am I
Hmm.
like, oh man, you better worry, you better not do that, because
Yeah.
you better think about all these things that could go wrong? Or am I that person that's like, oh, you could do it, I definitely think you're going to be able to do that, like, like, tell me
Yeah.
your plan. Let's go. You want to go over the plan? Like, do you have, stuff like that, right? Like, are you the encouraging friend? Are you the person that's going to offer advice and help and encouragement? Or are you the person that's nervous and scared, and
Hmm.
just, maybe offering, not on purpose in any way, maybe just out of concern, you're offering, like, all the negatives that may happen? It's just something I've been thinking about lately, especially as we do this podcast and we talk about, and you and I have had this conversation, like, about making sure that we're talking to people that's going to support us and
Hmm.
going to be helpful and constructive, right?
Yeah.
So it's just something that's come up really, especially recently. It's come up before, but especially recently, as we're getting further in this journey of doing our podcast, it's
Yeah.
something I've really started to consider a lot. So this topic is right on time for me personally.
Yeah. Yeah. So watch your social network, man. And as I said, I think it's episode 10 in the 10 Life Commandments. Mind the company you keep.
Yeah. It comes full circle, man, because these things are
Yeah.
like kind of like universal, and some of these components are gonna come up in other topics because it crosses over in a way because it's all part of our lives, right? Like whether you're Gen X, millennial, whatever the case
Mhm.
may be, these things are gonna seem to keep coming up as themes because they should.
And then we have our physical environment. We did our
Right,
social environment. Then we had our social network. Now we're doing our physical environment on network, which is our home life, our work life, and our community life as well. So inside
right.
your home, immediately outside your home, which is your community, and then outside of that would be like your work life. Um, this is very important because it's almost like one of those things they say never the two shall meet. I feel like you should try as best as you can to keep your work life from your personal life so that it doesn't leak into the home. You don't bring bad days home and you don't bring you don't bring your life into work and you don't bring your work into life, so to speak.
Interesting.
Um, your physical environment, your community as well is but community isn't the same as it used to be when we were coming up.
Right,
Like everyone doesn't always know all their neighbors. Uh we used to be outside playing all day, sports, whatever.
right,
If you went outside, you tried to be on your best behavior because you knew all eyes were on you. And if you got in trouble outside from somebody who's a neighbor, you knew you couldn't go home and tell your mother such and such yelled at you or scolded you
right.
because you'd get in trouble. You'd get in trouble
Get in
double
trouble
with
again.
you
Yeah,
get in
double
trouble
trouble.
again, double trouble. You know what I'm saying? Like Miss Johnson ain't got no reason to lie. Miss Johnson ain't got no reason to lie to me. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's very important that you keep your home life stable with your family, your wife, your children, your partner, whatever. And at home, keep your work life. Try to be a decent person in all three of these layers. If you could be that person, that dependable person at work, that person that people can depend on at work, the hardest work in the room, so to speak, then that's a positive impact on your personal ecosystem, as Maine said earlier. What you do leaks over into other people's. The closer you are to somebody, the more that you impact their life.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that absolutely, man. And I wanted to ask you this, like, so speaking of like the physical environment, right?
Hmm.
Now you're talking about like kind of the separation, and I have an opinion on that too. Like
Yeah.
over the years, like I've kind of gone in a different direction in terms of my opinion of work-life balance and what you're describing as like kind of keeping work at work
Hmm.
and the home, kind of very separate, right? But I wanted to ask you this, in terms of physical environment, do you think of the physical environment as just like literally your work environment versus your home environment, or do you see it as more granular than that, where what I was thinking was that this is literally like how you keep your surroundings, not
Hmm.
just like whether you're home with your family and kind of like focusing on that, which is very important, or focusing completely on work and kind of compartmentalizing the two and
Hmm.
making sure that they're not bleeding over into each other and you're not
Yeah.
bringing the work stress over to your home, which I honestly agree and I think that's important. But when I
Yeah.
thought of the physical environment, I also thought of like kind of the feng shui of it all, right? Like like where
Hmm.
you're optimizing your environment. So when you come in, you're like, ah, this is peaceful, right? Like
Yeah.
you put up the posters that motivate you, or you put up, you decorate in such a way that is optimal for you. Or some people keep keep a little office space, or they keep a little space where they sit down and it's really clean, or they got a
Hmm.
space where they read or they listen to music, and they curate that space in such a way when they go there, that's their space. Like some men might have a like their basement or garage, that's their man cave or something like that, right? Like
Yeah.
so that also came into mind when I thought about the whole idea of the physical environment, like where even in the office, I know people in the office, like I work in a corporate environment,
Yeah.
and I'm the type of person like you were saying, I kind of like to keep things separate. So I don't keep pictures of my family really in the office too. I,
Yeah.
I I mean, at one point I did because people kept coming in and saying, "Hey, I noticed that you don't have anything on your desk." And
Yeah.
after a while, just to stop that conversation, I started just putting a little picture of my family up. Like I think it was just a Christmas card, an old Christmas card that I
Yeah.
folded and stood it up on my desk. To be honest with you, because I always felt like, hey, this is not a permanent space. Like somebody could easily say, hey,
You're out of here,
We
buddy.
need this office, like you need to move over to somewhere else, right? Like, so I never wanted to be packing up stuff and moving, or God forbid something happens and I get, canned or something. I hated the
Yeah,
idea that I need to pack stuff into a cardboard box and leave. So I wouldn't
yeah,
really decorate much in the office. But the point is that there are some people that they curate their space even in the office to make it really pleasant for themselves, right? I've seen all types of things. I've seen people
yeah,
put up decorations. I've seen people put up different types of lighting, like things that look like almost like Christmas lights. I've seen all types of decor, right? Like I've seen people with family
yeah,
pictures of people that just motivate them.
yeah,
And all of it is valid to me. Like I think it's all whatever you need to kind of get through the day, or whatever makes you feel most productive and most positive. I feel like that's what you need to do. It's just that for me personally, I know I'm just there to kind of do my work, and that's enough for me to focus on. But yeah, I just
yeah.
want to know your thoughts on that. Like when you say physical environment, does that come to mind at all? Or are you just thinking like, hey, like I'm in one environment when I'm at work, I'm in another environment with my family, and that's what I care about.
That is what I care about, but I think of it more a lines of I kind of separate it where I divide it into like micro and macro.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So the micro is me. The micro is what I'm lucky enough to be able to, because I move around a lot for my line of work. Like I train people in their homes, I train people in their personal gyms, I train people outside. I get
Sure,
to kind of create my own workspace. And that's
sure,
the beauty of what I do. So in my mind, everything depends on me. It all depends on me. I can make the best of it. I can create. If I come in with a certain mindset, I personally feel like I can will a good session out of somebody if they come
sure.
bad. But there's one thing that I've learned across the along the years as regards of my personal impact on a physical environment or a physical space is that it's more important the way you walk into a room than how you walk out of a room.
Hmm.
So if you walk into the room, let's say you're having a really bad day, right?
Right.
And you walk into a room and you just wake up on the wrong day. Let's say the kids are getting on your nerves, whatever,
Hmm.
you're late for work, everything. You come into a room, you have a meeting or you're in a conference and no one knows you. And you walk into this room, you walk in with a scowl, you don't want to speak to anybody, you're sitting in the corner. This sounds familiar?
Uh,
No,
yeah, yeah,
but you're just,
a little
but
bit.
as it starts, as the conference goes on, let's say you start getting a little more comfortable. You decide like, you know what, I'm here. Let's make the best of it. This is something I'm really interested in. Let's see, and you start to become more receptive.
Right,
Right. So now maybe somebody next to you where they didn't want to come up to you. Now your body language is more welcoming. You come in, you speak to somebody, and before you know it, you're laughing. When you leave, they're like, you know what? That main guy, I didn't know about him when he came in here, but when he left, he's not a bad guy. He's a pretty cool guy. He's informative. You've kind of transformed the way these people think of you and look at you. All right.
sure.
Now let's say that you come into the room angry and you leave the room angry. You may not see these people ever again, but they may see people that know you, or they may do business with people that you work with. They have nothing good to say about you. You've left no good thought in their mind. They have nothing about, just like, yo, that dude, man, yo, he's a jerk. And then that's it. There's nothing else. Yeah, man, he's a jerk.
Right,
He's this, he's that. So you've now imposed, and this goes on in a lot of offices and a lot of just workspaces in general, that
sure.
somebody can just come in, like, they call them, what do they call them now, emotional vampires and such.
Mm,
Like, you can come into a room and just destroy the whole atmosphere. So someone could have had a great morning and then they come in and they got to look at you all day, being
right.
evil and mad and not wanting to go to, hey, you want to go to lunch? Nah, no, nothing. Um, Sometimes you come in a bad mood and you look at that person who has the lights up, who has the motivational pictures at his little cubicle and his desk, and you may be the lone desk in the whole office space. That, maybe you play a little Curtis Mayfield, maybe you play, you know what I'm saying? You never know. Whatever you're doing, the person next to you can affect the person next to you, who can affect the person 10 rows down, because it's kind of like, boom, you're
Right.
only strong as your weakest link, so to speak.
Sure.
So I really feel you have the ability to affect your physical environment by your internal attitude,
Gotcha.
and
Interesting,
that's
man.
how I feel
Yeah,
about it. Yeah.
that's really interesting and kind of profound because if it feels like what you're saying is that you're bringing a sort of an energy, right? Like this is
Yes.
energy and what they call vibes, right? You bring in your vibration,
Yeah.
and you can bring a negative vibration or you can bring a positive vibration,
Mhm.
regardless of what the literal physical environment is. When you
Yeah.
come in, you impact that for everybody
Yeah.
else, right? Like, so when people
Mhm.
are in the environment, you're coming in with a certain type of energy, and you're impacting their mood and you're impacting the way they feel in that environment just because of the energy you're bringing or the vibe that you're bringing
Yeah.
when you walk into a room or into a space. And that's definitely true because I've probably been on both sides of that where like someone may come in to my space and impact my energy. Like I try not to let that be the case, but
Mhm.
it's sometimes unavoidable. Like, we're social creatures and we pick up on stuff like that from each other. It becomes infectious where somebody's negative attitude can impact you. Then I've seen where somebody's positive attitude has kind of changed my day, right? Like, because a lot of times in a corporate environment, I don't want to speak for everybody in a corporate environment, but sometimes it's hard to keep your spirits up. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of like scarcity and manufactured deadlines and there's a lot going on when you're in a corporate environment that can cause burnout or can just cause you to feel like a little bit less than yourself, right?
Mhm.
So sometimes the opposite happens. That the negative vibe doesn't happen. People, like you said, they'll come in and they're so determined to make it a good day
Yeah.
that they're bringing that energy and that kind of infects you too, right? So the positive
Mhm.
energy can affect you the same as the negative energy. And I've had times where people have come around me and they just were so positive and happy to be there and upbeat that it kind of changed the way my mood went for the rest of the day, right?
Yeah.
And vice versa. I'm sure that I've done that for people too, like where they started out in a negative mode and we just talked for a little while and they felt much better after having talked to me. I definitely understand that. That's a really good way to look at those things.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a good thing,
Yeah.
and I think both are important. Like honestly, like I think curating your space does something for you. Like I said, like when people have those pictures up, like because
Yeah.
it obviously does, right? Because there's people that might have a plant in the office, right? Like they might have a plant
Mhm.
that they water every other day, make sure they get sunlight, and they're keeping that plant alive next to them in the office. They might
Yeah.
have pictures of their family to remind them, hey, this is what's really important, or this is why I'm doing this work, or whatever the case may be, or just it may just make you happy to see your family happy in a photo, right? Like some people have pictures of their dogs, and then at home, there's definitely people that curate the space for reading or drinking their tea, or when company comes over, there might be a little special place that you sit with them, or whatever the case may be, right? So yeah, I
Yeah.
think I think both things are important when it comes to physical environment. Like the energy you bring is
Yeah.
definitely like paramount, but I also think there's something to be said for like putting those physical cues around you that remind you to kind of like perk up. Some of those things you might consider cliche,
Yeah.
but they're reminders. Like when you read it, it's a quick reminder to your brain that says, "Hey, positive vibes only." Even no matter how many times you see it,
Yeah. And then that brings us into like the mind and the body aspect of your personal ecosystem, which is your health, your self-awareness,
right?
and also motivation. And a lot of misunderstandings are just two people who don't want to step into the other person's shoe. Like if someone is having a really bad day, we act like we've never had bad days before. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like everyone's gonna have a bad day, but you don't never stop to say like, yo, maybe something's going on in their life right now, and
Uh-huh.
vice versa. They never stop to say maybe something is going on in Maine's life or something's going on in Rance's life. He's not usually like this. Maybe I'll wait and cool down because they don't look like they want to talk right now, and then maybe I'll gradually see like, hey, what's up? You want to go out for lunch? You want to get a cup of coffee? You want to
Right.
talk? Or I like to always say, I'll never ask, but I'll always listen. That's what I tell like my closest friends. You know what I'm saying? Like
Sure.
I'm like, I'm not gonna ask, but I'll always listen. When it's all said and done with, it's not a lot of problems that haven't been recycled.
Sure, sure.
You know what I
There's
mean?
nothing new under the sun, right?
There's
Like they
nothing
say.
really new under the sun at all, man. There's too many people on the planet and there's too many situations, all right? So the self-awareness of it all is just knowing that, hey, everyone is allowed to have a bad day. Everyone is allowed to wake up on the wrong side of the bed. It just so happens that their bad day is connected to your happy day, maybe. So
Right, right,
maybe try to do the best that you can. Maybe they'll help them out a little bit. They'll appreciate you
right,
for it. They may not, they may walk into the room angry, but they may leave the room with a smile on their face.
right.
You
And
know?
that comes up quite a bit, man. Even in the corporate environments, that comes up a lot as discussions about like what they call EQ or emotional quotient or
Hmm.
emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
Which to me really the basis of that is really empathy, right? Like you
Hmm.
said, the ability to put yourself quickly in another person's shoes and kind of understand that, try to understand at least to the extent that you can
Hmm.
what they might be feeling or what they might be thinking or going through. Just considering that for a moment in your responses, right?
Hmm.
In making the decision of whether to respond or and how to respond to a person, right?
Right.
Thinking about what the other person may need, even if it's for you to kind of be silent or go away or just listen, like you said, like
Yeah.
not really ask a lot of questions, but just be a shoulder to lean on. To me, that is a big part of, like you said, like the whole mind and body thing when it comes to emotional intelligence. That's definitely important. And the other thing I think about when I think about the mind and body and like kind of the health aspect of that and the ecosystem
Hmm.
is that it made me think about self-talk, right? Like how not only are we affecting other people, but we're affecting ourselves, right? Like, and
Hmm.
and I know it sounds obvious, but a lot of self-talk is, at least for me, it tends to be like more on the negative side sometimes, where it's like, oh, I should have done this, or why didn't I do that, or this was stupid, or I missed my workout yesterday, and or I ate this snack, and what am I doing, right?
Yeah.
And I said something stupid to my family, and now they're mad, or like, whatever the case may be, or I didn't finish this project on time. And there's a lot of the self-talk tends to be around like what is missing or what is lacking or what I didn't do, as opposed to what is actually there, what is abundant, what am I doing right? Like what do I feel good about, in terms of myself and what I'm bringing to the table.
Hmm.
And I feel like that's really important for people to take note of when it comes to mind and body connection. Think about like your own self-talk, because it's very easy to get into the negative, but you have a lot of control when it comes to how you speak to yourself. Like if you're intentional and you're conscious about it, you can be your biggest motivator, your biggest fan, and your biggest cheerleader, so to speak, right? Like
Hmm.
you need to speak life into yourself. You need to be your biggest fan because you're all you got. Like you're
Yeah.
you're living in this vessel,
Yep.
and it really starts with you. Like you got to love you enough to give yourself encouragement even when you mess up, even when you screw up something real bad. You got to be forgiving and gentle with yourself and encouraging with yourself, because it really starts there, because like you said, even that impacts the energy that you're going to bring when you're interacting with other people, right? Because people can feel like when you're low on confidence or when you're down on yourself.
Hmm.
And honestly, that feeling, it rubs off on other people, and nobody wants to be in the presence of that all the time.
Yeah.
So if you can keep yourself kind of encouraged even when you mess up, if you can keep that self-talk as positive as possible, like be your own cheerleader, be your own encouragement, be your own motivator, that is going to rub off in the way you interact with other people, right? They're going to feel that from you, and they're going to, like, a lot of times they're going to reciprocate it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like what motivates you. Like I've always felt that I belong in every room that I step my foot into. Even if
Interesting.
the
That's
people
another interesting
even if
one,
the
man.
people that I'm stepping in the room don't think that I belong there with them. I always feel like I belong in the room. I always do. It
I
doesn't
don't.
matter. I
That's
do.
that's that's profound, right?
And that's why
Because
we work. That's why we
no,
work.
no, but
But
it's no, no, but not just
yeah.
that. But it's funny because like I suffer from imposter syndrome a lot of
Mhm.
times, right? Like, and especially you're working in a corporate environment, and you and I have talked about this before. Like, I've worked really hard to get to a certain point in my career in
Mhm.
technology, right? But it has been like peaks and valleys, right? And I've gotten certified in a bunch of stuff. I played a lot of different roles in technology, but sometimes I feel that imposter syndrome, even after years and years of having different experiences, working on different projects, with all levels of, like, from management to like, you know, entry level technologists and stuff like that. Like,
Yeah.
I've worked on all levels, and I still feel that little bit of imposter syndrome sometimes, where I shake it off,
Yeah.
eventually, like, I shake it,
Hmm.
but I don't always start with, and because I guess that advice is to myself too, right? About the self-talk and about the mind and the body connection. Just being your own cheerleader and your own encouragement is
Hmm.
important, because it's important to me, right? Like, because I think that I'm saying that because I need to say it to myself, not just our audience, not just to whoever may need to hear it. I need to hear it a lot of times, because I don't always start out with "I belong in this room," right? Whether it be
Yeah.
at work or sometimes in social settings, like, I just get this weird feeling like maybe I don't belong here, or maybe I'm not, I don't know, maybe I'm not adequate for this or up to this task in certain environments, right?
Yeah.
Um, but that's a profound thing you bring up, because I know a lot of people like yourself. They start out with "I belong here," like everybody else. Like,
Hmm.
I'm here and I
Yeah.
belong here. I have a right to be here.
Yeah. I got two quick stories. When I
Yeah, go
was
ahead.
my first ever promotion, when I came home and I started working, I turned down my very first promotion. I was like probably 19 years old, and I didn't feel that I was ready, right? And then when my boss promoted somebody other than me, they were
Uh-huh.
terrible. And I spent the next year like, yo, son, I could have been a better job than this.
Right,
And then I started to think that, first of all, whether I thought I was ready or not, somebody thought I was.
right,
You know what I mean? And I always said right then and there, I'm never going to, first of all, not accept a promotion ever again, no matter what. If I don't know, if I didn't, there's been times that I've gotten promoted, right? And it was like, yo, can you do this? Yeah, absolutely. And I was like, yo, I don't know how I'm gonna do it. But I'm like, yo, I've never not been able to do it. I've never not been able to walk into some place, not know it, and go out
right,
not knowing
right.
it. So I was like, yo, I'm just gonna figure it out. So that was one of the things that that I just kind of, I guess it's kind of as an imposter syndrome also, where I'm like, yo,
Yeah,
there's no way I feel like I'm ready. But in my mind, I go, well, it doesn't matter if I don't think I'm ready. They think that I'm ready.
right,
So if they think that I'm ready, then I've shown them, whether I like it or not, to myself, that I've shown them something, that they believe in me. So
right,
from then on out, I was like, yeah, yes, thank you, yes. Thank you. Yes, 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 I can do it. Yes, I
right.
can do it.
Yeah,
And the other thing is, when I was younger, I was told so many times by outsiders that I was too small to do this, or I wasn't bright enough to do that, or I wasn't going to be able to do this,
uh-huh.
that I kind of I started to believe it a little bit, right?
Sure.
So much so that when I came across somebody, like, when I came across my coach, the man that taught me how to play tennis, when I came across the man that taught me, he was telling me that I could be great at something. And I was so messed up that I didn't take it seriously and I didn't believe it. So I was like, yo, I'm never going to let anybody tell me what I can't do, so much to the fact that I start believing it. So that when somebody came and told me that you can and you are, I didn't believe them. So those are two instances in my life where I was like, yo, I'm never gonna allow this to happen again. So
Yeah.
I just walk into anywhere like, yo, I'm here because I'm supposed to be here, son. I don't care. You got to prove to
Right.
me that I don't belong here. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
So
And
those are
and
the two.
that's really, that's profound, and it's important, right? Like, that people kind of take that message, because I've heard it said before that, if you're offered an opportunity, say yes. And even if you think you're not ready, or you have a lot to learn in order to kind of step up to that opportunity, say yes
Hmm.
anyway, and then learn later, right?
Yeah.
Even if you know that, hey, I'm not qualified for this, and somebody offers you an opportunity, take the
Hmm.
opportunity and then learn on the job. Like, you won't be the first person to ever do that, right? And like you
Yeah.
said, the part of your story that resonates with me is that somebody else gets promoted, and they're not they're not good at it. Like
Oh, they were
they're not even
terrible.
or they're not even taking
Yeah.
it as seriously as you would have. They're not
Yeah.
making the effort that you would have made to get up to speed and to make sure that you're qualified and make sure that you are learning enough to step up to the plate, right?
Mhm.
So that's an interesting aspect of this, man. Like sometimes, there's another saying that I've heard about, like, there's somebody, less qualified than you that's just going for it while you're sitting around thinking that you're not qualified. I'm paraphrasing it, but
Yeah.
there's people out there that are half as qualified as you, have half the experience, but because of their confidence, they're being
Mhm.
promoted and they're being uplifted because they're kind of exhibiting that they want it,
Yeah.
that they're willing to try and they're willing to put themselves out there regardless of if they have all the qualifications or not. And a lot of times opportunities pass us by because we don't feel that way about ourselves, right? And to me, that's just what comes up when I think about that whole mind and body thing. I think about the empathy aspect, like I said, the emotional intelligence that you have to have when you're dealing with other people. But I
Mhm.
also think about like how you treat yourself and how important that is, because it can either lead to opportunities or cheat you out of them, right?
Yeah.
You can kind of trick yourself out of a lot of good things just by self-sabotage of not believing in yourself or not encouraging yourself. Kind of like what I call experiential knowledge, that everything that's been thrown at you, you pretty much got through it somehow, right? Like there's nothing when I think about people, like especially like people that have gone as far as we've gone in different things, you didn't really fail. Like you may not have been as great at everything,
Yeah.
but you didn't fail, right? Like, so if you have a track record of not just straight up failing, or there's never been a time where we didn't try, at least, right? Like we didn't give it our best shot. So if you know that it's in your character to give everything your best try, um, that should be enough for for you to accept any opportunity.
And especially if you have people like people to motivate you. Like we're married with kids, we have families.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? Like one of the motivations to get up is just to provide. You know,
Right.
one of the motivations for us doing what we're doing now, our podcast, is because we wanted to make kind of like a capsule for our children and our grandchildren, or something along
Right.
the way, where to
Right.
say like, look, this is who your father was. This is who your
Right.
grandfather was. Like, I want them to know what type of person I was, but I also want them to know what type of man I was. I want them
Yeah.
to know some of my principles and some of my standards and what I stood for and the people I surrounded myself with. Um, one of the great misfortunes I feel of my life is that I didn't get the opportunity to really know my paternal grandparents. Right? I
Mm.
have like
Right.
no memory of my father's father and my father's mother. I have like one memory of a house when
Mhm.
I was a kid being in there, and each year a piece of that apartment disappears from my memory. And I always wish, one of the things that motivates me when we do this is, I'm like, yo, when my children have children and my children have children, they'll have something, regardless of if they know a lot about me or they remember me or not. They have something to go to, a reference to be like, oh,
Right.
that's my lineage, my lineage.
Right. Yeah,
You know what I mean? So
absolutely. And
motivation is where you find it, man.
absolutely, man. And I know we had talked about that before too, about creating like a time capsule, because it's not just, there's a lot of aspects to this, right? Like we're trying to
Mhm,
provide information, a little bit of
mhm,
entertainment. People say that they're learning a little something when we do the podcast. They're laughing
mhm,
when we do the podcast.
yeah,
So that's a big factor of it, right? But the other factor is, like you said, the time capsule, right?
yeah.
Where years from now, if this is still on Apple and Spotify,
Still up.
if they keep this going, if they archive it or so, I don't know what happens after 10
I don't
years,
know, son. We'll
but
always have YouTube.
yeah, however long this all lasts, right? Like they'll
Yeah.
have like a time capsule of what we did
Mhm.
and what we thought about certain things, and even our voices, man. Like something silly like a voice, like you may not
Yeah.
remember after a while, like what your father's voice sounded like, over
Yes.
the years, and then what your grandfather. So, like you said, like my grandchildren may look at this one day and be like,
Mhm.
"Hey, this was my grandfather." Like, okay, that's cool,
Yeah.
and this is what he thought about things. This is what he did.
This
It's
is when he
almost
was
like
actually younger.
a little
when
younger.
I didn't see him with
And
walking around with the bedpan and the
yeah, that's when he had a sense of humor. Like,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
but yeah, stuff like that is important too, man. To kind of create a time capsule is the gift of this medium, right?
Mm-hmm.
That we could record this and just keep it, and for as long as it lasts, our children and maybe our children's children will have it as something that to look back on and be like, oh, this is what my grandfather thought of things, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, these guys were, he's kind of corny,
Yeah, but
there was some information in there too if you can sit through it.
mm-hmm. Yeah, man.
You know?
Which brings us to our next one, uh um digital life, which is weird. I feel like it's weird because when I was looking, one of the things was digital life, and
Mhm.
like, well, digital life and like your education. So basically it's like consumption if you think about it.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like educational consumption, your information, social media, your engagement with
Right,
your with external forces, i.e. Social media, Instagram, whatever, however
right,
you communicate with people outside of your individual household, and education, how far you've gone, what you've consumed. Do you read?
right,
You know what
right,
I'm saying? And we talk about this all the time about the importance of how there's been this movement of how college isn't important or necessarily important.
right.
A degree in this and knowledge isn't always, well, I'm not going to say knowledge because
I
knowledge
think
can
it's the
always be acquired.
right. I think it's the
Hmm.
debate over the importance of going to a traditional college as opposed to kind of a trade,
Yeah.
but I think the mistake that people make, just to touch on that a little bit, because I don't want to go off on a
Yeah.
tangent with you, but
Hmm.
but I think what happens in the mistake in the argument is automatically applying the education to whether or not you're able to make a lot of money with that education, right?
Yes.
And I think that that's a mistake because education is about much more than making money. Of course, that's extremely important, and in today's society, it's all about getting the bag, and we all know
Hmm.
that money is a form of power, it's a form of freedom, and I get
Hmm.
all of that. I don't want to diminish any of that,
Hmm.
but I just want people out there listening to know that education is about a lot more than whether or not you can make a bag after you get out or how much you owe
Yes.
in loans, right? I know all of that stuff is impactful and it's
Hmm.
important, but when it comes to that argument over, and I know this is not exactly what your point, but
Yeah.
I just want to reiterate this because I think it's really important, right? Like when it comes to the debate over whether college is important anymore or whether young people should just go find a trade and go start making money right away, or even in technology, they say that you can just get certified in something and just go right into the workforce because
Hmm.
all the employers are looking for is that you have the skill sets in order to do
Hmm.
the job, right? But when you get if you do decide to go to college and you can work it out, financially and all that stuff, there's a lot more to college than just whether or not you're going to get paid a lot when you get out, right? I know that that's an extremely important aspect of it,
Yeah.
but there's other aspects of it, like we talked about the social emotional
Social.
stuff, like
Uh-huh.
emotional intelligence, your EQ, your ability to have the time and space to kind of learn and like study topics that you may not otherwise be exposed to
Yes.
if you didn't go to a traditional college. Like there's
Hmm.
things that happen in college that you're not going to experience just by going to a trade school, and then there's trade schools that are going to give you that skill set right away that's going to allow you to make a living and feed your family and all that stuff. So neither one of them is either like better
There's
or
no
worse.
wrong answer.
There's
Yeah.
no wrong answer there.
Hmm.
To me, the answer is always it depends on your personal situation. It depends on what you're looking to get out of it, what your goals are, what resources you have in order to get through that, whichever path you choose. What are going to be your support systems and your resources to get through that? What is going to be the impact of it after you're out? Like not just the student loans, but what type of job are you going to be able to get?
Hmm.
What's going to be your network after you get out, right? So there's a lot of different aspects to education, and I feel like the argument that happens online is really all about, oh, well, I got a friend that graduated and he can't find a job, or I got a
Yeah.
friend that graduated and they got X amount of student loans, or I have a friend that
Hmm.
graduated and they only make this much and I went to this tech school and I make this much, right? And it's really not all about that. And I think what society is kind of fooling us into is thinking that this is all about how much money we can make right after graduation. I don't want to diminish that because that's extremely important to people. Everybody has to make a living. But I don't want people to be tricked out of like getting that traditional education, because if you see a lot of the people that say that, these employers that even encouraging people to just go get certified in something and come right in and start working, a lot of those people that are top, executives, they have degrees, right?
Yep.
And their degrees and their networks and their advanced degrees have gotten them educated to the point where they are able to run a business. They are able to understand different aspects of business and finance and different things that make them qualified to say who they want working for them and whether or not that person needs a degree to work for them. It's just something that I want people to think about when who's making these arguments, and
Mhm.
um who is it benefiting if we're making an argument that young people no longer need to get a traditional education, right?
Yeah.
Who
And
benefits from that?
that's social that's social media engagement.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right,
And that
and
goes
that goes back to
along
the digital life. Like, we
the
have this
digital
digital life
life.
that's
Yeah.
telling us, what is the digital life feeding us and what is it telling us, right? Like
Yeah.
and it goes right into your personal ecosystem where you have to be
Mhm.
careful about and intentional, like we always say,
Yeah.
like, or I always say on this, intentionality is extremely important. Like, you got to be intentional about what you're feeding yourself, and then you got to
Yeah.
be balanced and like kind of, you know, when you read a certain argument or you have a certain opinion, sometimes you have to go find information that contradicts it, right?
Yeah.
And then you make your decision, right? Like, you can't
Mhm.
make a decision based on your gut feelings all the time or your personal opinion, especially if you don't have, like I said, experiential knowledge again,
Mhm.
right? You gotta, if you lack experience or something, and if everyone that's talking to you lacks experiences, you have to go the extra mile of not only researching your actual opinion, but you got to find any information that contradicts it, and then you make a decision, right? So that's
Yeah.
kind of a more scientific way of coming to decisions like that.
This is like a recurrent statement of this episode. It's your personal ecosystem,
Right.
right? So you're trying to control your personal ecosystem the best as you can. So don't let somebody outside of your ecosystem control something that you should be controlling yourself. Unless you just don't want to do it, don't let somebody talk you out of it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, don't let
Right.
somebody tell you that um school is whack. You know what I'm saying? Like, college is whack. This
Yeah.
is whack. You know what I mean? If it's something that you want to do, you do it. Don't let somebody don't turn on your phone or your computer and see somebody telling you that they make this much money and they didn't even do this or they didn't even do that. Because honestly, a lot of social media is a farce, man. Like, a lot of these people are just posing for the camera. It's like the I saw a thing, a sketch with a guy talking about how to be a millionaire. And basically, they have no idea how to be a millionaire, but convincing people to sign up for them, telling them how to be a millionaire and becoming millionaires by telling people. You ever saw
You
that one?
sign up,
Yo,
yeah, you
son.
sign up for my course.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
and
it's like, yo, you did so well. Now you're on to level 4, and now you're on to level 5.
yeah, it's almost like
You
the
know,
new version of the multi-level marketing schemes, right?
the
Like
pyramids.
it's
Yes.
yeah, it's almost the new pyramid where, like, if you sign up for my course for X amount of hundreds of dollars, I'm gonna
Hmm.
give you a booklet, I'm gonna give you the workbook, I'm gonna give you free access to me so we can have one-on-one sessions and all that stuff, right? And I'm gonna
Yeah.
talk you to death about how you don't need this and you don't need that. Here's all you need, and then you're gonna go about your day, and I'm gonna go about my day, but I'm gonna be a few $100
I'm gonna
richer,
be a
right? Like,
few $100 richer.
and yeah, and I don't want to bash, or like, and I'm not trying to bash people
Now,
that provide that type.
there's
There's
plenty of
plenty of
people that
legitimate,
provide legitimate,
yeah.
wholesome,
This
good information as
and
well.
there's plenty and like I said, like, we've talked about this before, so I don't want to beat it to death, but there's plenty of alternatives to traditional college, right? I think we went off on a
Yeah.
little tangent here, but like, the point is that there's alternatives to traditional education like college, but
Mhm.
But the key is to kind of like do your own kind of thinking about this, do your own. I hate saying do your own research because it sounds so like conspiracy
Yeah.
conspiracy theorist. Like I
Yeah.
did my own research, and
Mm-hmm.
like I don't want it to sound like that. But literally, these are things you could research. In fact, right? Like you could research like the statistical data on how much college graduates make on average in comparison to their peers that didn't go to college, right? You
Mm-hmm.
can do statistical data on how many people that start businesses close within a year, like, so there's a lot of information you could gather. Like you could do statistical analysis of how many people are successful after going to X trade school. Like if you're trying to be an electrician or a plumber or whatever the case may be, just research it. Like college is not for everybody. um Entrepreneurship is definitely not for everybody,
Mm-hmm.
and trade schools may be for some people, right? Like, so,
Yeah.
but I think that what kind of concerns me though is the blanket statement that you don't need college that I keep seeing
Yeah.
on, or especially on social media. When you look at the comments, people are like, well, my friend went to college and all they got was loans, and that's definitely
Mm-hmm.
not the case. I'm here to tell you, for the one thing I can tell you for a fact is that some people that go to trade school, they make a lot of money, right? But
Mm-hmm.
I can also tell you for a fact that some people that go to college make a lot of money, right? So
Yes.
if that's what's important to you, depending on what you take in school, depending
Mm-hmm.
on what you do after that, depending on what type of network you have, and what type of work ethic you have, and what you're willing
Mm-hmm.
to contribute, you can make a lot of money after college, and you can make a lot of money in trade after trade school.
Yes,
So
sir.
I
It
guess
all
that's a
depends
takeaway
on you. Yeah, it
for
all depends on
for
you.
those of you making that argument. It really depends on you, and like Rand said,
Mm-hmm.
it's a personal thing. Like just like your ecosystem is personal, your story and what you get out of your education is a very personal and subjective thing. Some people go through a lot of peaks and valleys before they reach some level of success. Um, and some people get right to the bag. Like if that's what you're interested in, that's out there for you. But it really depends on you, and for you to think it through, for you to get the right help, the right network, the right major when you're in school, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
For you to be very, like I said, intentional is
Yes.
probably the key word for any avenue you're gonna take. You have to have some intention behind it, and you have to have a plan, right?
Mm-hmm.
The people that kind of fall into categories where they don't do so well after they finish any of these things is because they didn't have a real plan. And you can't blame everybody. Like at 18 years old, 17 years old, and me graduate from high school,
Yeah.
very difficult to tell somebody like, oh, you have to plan the next 10 years of your life now. And you have to be ready. Once you're out of there, you got to be ready for the workforce and plan your whole life out, right? Like, so
Mm-hmm.
that's very difficult. But the more you can like learn as you go, the more you could take on like people in your ecosystem, those relationships, and those people that encourage you, those people that give you advice, those people that have done it before you, the more you raise your percentage chance of success regardless of the path you take, right? So
Yeah.
that's kind of, I just want to have that like drilled in,
Yeah.
um because I
Yeah.
hate seeing that argument, like, because it's so hard to make a real to have a real discussion or a real debate based in fact within the comment section of some social media post.
Yeah, man. So, but the one thing about your ecosystem is that once you master it, do you know what I'm saying? Once you become a master of your own personal ecosystem, you'll realize that the most trouble is basically an imbalance somewhere. And if you keep your circle tight, you'll know. Like for instance, I'm having a bad day. I have a 10-month-old and a toddler. I haven't slept in years. So you know, there's a lot of times there's a reason why sometimes I'm not always in the best mood. I can always trace it to that, and then I set myself on the right course. So the people that's around me, they know, he ain't sleeping, man. So take it easy on him. Health and wellness. You may not be taking care of yourself. You may not be watching what you eat. Like these are all things that you can control. I've read somewhere even while I was doing a little bit of research for this podcast, how journaling, find an outlet for yourself, write down your thoughts every day, get a diary, journal. um what did you do, how did things go wrong, how can things go right, how you handle certain situations, but especially make time for yourself, meditate. Have a time for yourself where you can sit down and reflect and think and work things out on yourself. Because like I said, I always think how a room reacts is how I walk into a room. That's just how I react. I'm sure we've all been places where you can literally see sometimes a room gravitate towards a certain person. Like you know who's the top dog in the room, you know who's the comedian, you know who's the money maker, you know who's the toughest person in the room, in the gym and things of that nature. You can kind of sway the crowd towards your way. But are you going to sway it towards the positive or are you going to sway it towards the negative?
Right.
And it all depends on you and lack of progress, how far you get in life. Every now and then it is out of your hands. Sometimes it's not your fault that you didn't get that job. Sometimes it's not your fault that you didn't get the position. But a lot of times you can look and self reflect and be like, well, I didn't get this promotion because this person has this degree. Or I didn't get this promotion because this person was willing to go back to school. Or I didn't get this promotion because I'm late 3 days out the week. Or, you know what I mean? My work always has to be double checked. Or I call out a lot, whatever. Like, first look at yourself.
Wow, I feel
You,
attacked.
you know what I mean?
No, I'm just joking. No, I'm just joking. That's
Yo,
definitely
last week now with the big arches, and now with the with the fries and the big arches, and now yo, you not having a good two
gotta
weeks, bro.
gotta
And
be
it's
late
not-
two times in the week late. Nah, no, I'm
you
just
know,
joking.
punctuality matters. What are you doing? You didn't pass that test. Did you study for that test? Be honest. You know what I'm saying? Did you
Right.
study or did you use Chat GPT? You wrote that paper, you got an F. Did you use the same format that your entire class did? You know, did you show that you can think outside the box? Are you not being creative enough? You know, these are all things that you have. Control the controllable. You
Right.
know, and that's if there's anything that you get from this, control the controllable, physically, mentally. So there you go. You got anything else to add, my brother?
Um, nah, not really. I think I think we covered it, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, this has been a good conversation, man, because it definitely hits home for me that one of the key things, and I guess I do have some more to add with because seriously, like I'm glad we had this conversation and we
Uh-huh.
talked about this particular topic because it really is something that resonates with me that I have to try my best to optimize my own personal ecosystem, man. Because like I
Mhm.
said, I liken it to like I'm joking about it, but I kind of liken it to like a fish tank, right? In
Mhm.
order for your little goldfish to to thrive and survive, that environment needs to be optimized, right? Like you got to have the
Mhm.
right temperature, you got to have oxygen kind of pumping through the water, you got to put some food in there, but not too much food, right? Like you got to have maybe a little rocks in there, a little, whatever, like
What's
a
that thing that
little
sucks on the
habitat.
glass and everything? You gotta have the thing that clean the
Yeah,
suck the little that ugly little succubus looking thing that just cleans
yeah,
the
the thing
fish
that
tank for
clean
you.
yeah, it cleans off the
Them
algae or whatever
suckerfish.
that's
Yeah,
yeah,
man. Hmm.
those sucker fish that might clean off the algae off the
Hmm.
tank and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You need the little habitat that it can swim through so it has a little place to for leisure
Yeah.
time, right?
Yeah,
And
man.
I joke about it, but those are all the things that as human beings we need too, man. We need the kind of the lower level stuff, like the hierarchy of needs where you need like your shelter, your food, your water, your warmth, you know,
Hmm.
but then it gets a little higher where you need like human interaction, like you need your relationships, right?
Absolutely.
You need your family, you need your the closeness of your friends and all that stuff, your confidants and whoever you're dependent on, right? And then it gets into stuff where you need downtime, you need leisure, you need to relax, right? Like you need growth. You need to have a feeling that you can be mobile, you can have mobility, you can have movement, not only physically but in a proverbial sense too. You need to have the freedom to kind of move in the way that you want to, at least optimally, and ideally everybody would want to have the freedom to kind of move around the way they see fit, right?
Hmm.
And then wellness, right? Like you need to be healthy in order to bring all of that stuff together. If you're not healthy, none of those other things will really matter much if you're
Yeah.
not keeping yourself relatively healthy, if you're not well, if you're not mobile,
Hmm.
um,
What
if
do
you're
they say?
feeling
You
sick.
can't fill from an empty cup.
Exactly, exactly. So
Can't
it's not
pour from an empty cup. I'm sorry.
right.
Hmm.
You can't pour from an empty cup. Exactly.
Yeah.
So you're it's not just a physical thing. This is a kind of like you said, like it's a tie of the mind and the body, right? Like where you got to feel those things as well. You got to have certain resources in order to feel those things too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, when I think of the ecosystem, man, like this is an important conversation, and it resonates with me because of the fact that I know that personally, I need to really optimize those things. I think I have a lot of those things in place, and I think it's obvious that I do because I think you and I both do. Like we're doing well in our lives, but I feel like because we're doing well, we have an opportunity that's unique to a lot of people in the ability to optimize all those things, right? Like to not be complacent and think like, oh, I got my ecosystem's fine, it's all right.
Yeah,
I'll just relax. And I feel
yeah,
like, one of the other things is not to be complacent, to be, like I said, like I keep saying this, and I've said this in several podcasts, but to me, the word intentional is probably one of the most important things, right? Like you gotta
mm-hmm.
look at these things and look at how you're gonna optimize them, right? Like
Yeah,
what's gonna make this keep growing? What's gonna make this stay? If it's great, how are you gonna make it stay great, right? If it's
mm,
good right now, how do you make it better? If it's not optimal, how are you gonna optimize it, right? Like if it's less than great, like what are you gonna do about it, right? And like you said,
yeah,
control the controllable,
mm-hmm.
and I think you'll be on a great path. And that's something I like. As I say it, I remind myself of that, not just saying it because for whoever might be listening, I got to remind myself of that. So that's why this episode resonates with me quite a bit.
Yeah. And back to the whole fish tank thing. Don't be a fighting fish either, yo. I don't know if you've ever. I had a fighting fish when I was a kid.
What
You
are
know
the
the fight
betas? Those little beta fish?
dogs. No, the fighting fish. First of all, they're beautiful. They have like these long, luxurious fins, right?
Yeah,
But you can't put them in a fish tank with anything. They like
but
you
isn't that the
wake up the next
beta?
day.
That's not a beta fish because I've had beta fish where they said that they need to be alone,
Maybe that's what they called. Maybe
and
the
they're kind of
fighting
like,
fish is the other name.
and they're kind
They
of
like they
long,
they have like
and they have
long
like a
wavy
nice fin.
hair.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, on
I
both
think that's a
sides, the
beta
top and the
fish.
sides, and they
Yeah,
come like I had a black one, or was it a navy one? Anyway, they like bite all the other goldfish's fins. You wake up the next day, your goldfish and
I
all
think
their
you're talking about
fins.
a beta fish. They're
You
supposed to be
put them in.
alone.
You put them in a yeah. I had to put them in like a little tiny fish tank next to the fish tank, yo. So don't be a fighting fish, yo. Don't be a fighting fish, yo. You know what I'm saying?
All
Get
right,
along with others, man.
we're taking this fish analogy of the tank very
Yeah,
far, but no, but
we're milking
it
it.
applies. It applies.
Yeah, yeah. But one more thing before we end, I want to say a special RIP to Barry Caldwell. A lot of people do not know who Barry Caldwell is, well, was, including myself, but I found out he's also a native New Yorker, but he is an animator, a director, and a storyboard artist. Uh
Mm,
Animaniacs. He
mm,
worked on the Animaniacs.
classic,
Osmosis Jones. Remember the Chris
classic.
Rock
Yeah,
movie?
yeah, yeah.
Tiny Toons, the Smurfs, Alvin, and the Chipmunks. He was
Wow.
a good friend of Paul Dini. Many people may be familiar with Paul Dini's work. He did that fantastic the Batman cartoons.
Wow.
That cartoon was dope. Paul Dini,
Yeah,
he did a
it's
lot of
classic.
the DC
Another
universe.
classic. Yeah.
Yeah, the Batman cartoon. Um and he was a close personal friend of Paul Dini's, and a lot of his fellow creators called him one of the finest artists and someone who could elevate any project he touched. So shout out to Barry Caldwell. I don't, you know what? I don't wish that he died a month earlier so that we could put him in Black History month, but I feel it's a name that we should know. So RP to Barry Caldwell, man. Animator, director, storyboard artist. He recently just passed at the age of 64. And I had no idea
Wow.
that he was one of the main animators and the brains of the storyboard behind like Tiny Toons and Animaniacs, which was a dope cartoon. We was watching
Yeah, that's a
Animaniacs
classic.
in college, bro.
Yeah, that's a classic.
You know what I mean? So shout
Yeah,
out to him. I know probably Saccone, one of the guys that we know who's a animator and an artist. He probably is well aware
you should know. Yeah.
of who he is. So episode 33, that Patrick Ewing is in the books, yo. You know what I mean? Now shout out to our day 33s, our day ones, and everyone in between.
Absolutely.
And as usual, and as always, shout out to our day one. Day one. You know who you are. You know, and you know what, man?
Since we are prolific.
That's right, my brother. He says it with the greatest enthusiasm. We are prolific. We will be back next week. Same Gen X time, same Gen X place with another episode, and we'll see you then. And control the controllable.
Absolutely.
If you have learned anything from today, control the controllable. We gave you a movie. We gave you a book. Go check out that Claudine with that fine Diane Carroll, boy. And pick up that Sprout book. And power to the podcast.
Power to the podcast.
Peace.
Peace.